I squeezed the note in my hand and returned to the dormitory with a complicated expression. On the second day, Buka called me over as usual and began to become more presumptuous. As I tried to dodge Buka again, my fingers inadvertently touched the note hidden in my pocket. I don't know, though, if the school worker found something. But at that time, he seemed to be upright, and I couldn't help but feel a little safe. Perhaps, I really should have to ask for help, otherwise I will only keep falling into the abyss and fall into a dangerous and terrible cycle of death. As Buka tried to slide his hand to my chest again, I finally couldn't help but whisper. Buka, let's stop our business, otherwise, I will definitely go to the police. Don't think that those videos will threaten me and push me into a hurry, and you will definitely be punished by the law. When the words fell, Buka's hand suddenly paused. He looked at me with a somewhat gloomy expression, and finally miraculously withdrew his hand. Even until the end of the military training that day, Buka didn't do anything unspeakable to me. My heart was pounding. Was I finally going to succeed in resisting? On the night of the end of the military training, I also received a message from my mother. Baby, your uncle is on a business trip to your university city today. I guess it's coming, and I'll ask him to see you. I was so happy to hear that Uncle Zhang was coming to me. Because I was still worried about whether Buka and the others would do it to me again before they left the campus. But now the arrival of my uncle has given me a great sense of security. He'll be able to protect me, and he won't let Buka and them get a chance. I'll be waiting for you at the north gate of your school after the military training. Uncle will take you out to eat something delicious, and also let your mother feel at ease. Looking at the message my uncle sent me, a warm current passed by in my heart. I haven't experienced what it's like to have a dad, but I can do it now. It's just that looking at the north gate above, I can't help but mutter. The north gate is the most remote gate of our school, and to get out of the north gate, you have to go through the direction of the back mountain. Why did my uncle choose that door? Is it because the road over there is more convenient? I didn't think much about it, and after the military training, I went back to the dormitory to take a shower and change clothes, and happily went over there with my mobile phone. There were fewer and fewer people along the way, and I was a little scared, and my steps became hurried. I comforted myself in my heart that it would be nice to see my uncle as soon as possible. But as I walked, I suddenly felt that something was wrong with the footsteps behind me. At this time, the location I am in is already relatively remote, and few people usually come at night. But the footsteps followed me from a distance. At first, I thought it was just passers-by. After all, just because there are fewer people here doesn't mean there aren't people. But every time I stopped, the footsteps stopped, as if they were deliberately keeping some distance from me. My new middle school suddenly went up with alarm bells. Shouldn't it be a Buka who doesn't give up? I immediately ran into the woods on the side. The road was complicated, and I tried to get rid of the people behind me by taking a detour. But because I've just been at the school for a short time, I'm not very familiar with the place. So I ran, and although I got rid of the people behind me, I also managed to get myself lost. As I stood there in confusion, a hand suddenly reached out from behind me and covered my mouth and nose. I was forcibly dragged into a dense bush. I struggled desperately, but I couldn't resist the strength of the people behind me. Just then, I heard the footsteps that had just followed me nearby. There was also the confused conversation of Buka's people. Strange, people are coming this way, do you see? Look again, it must be hidden. The footsteps of a few people faded away, and a familiar but unfamiliar voice came from my ears at the right time. Don't move yet, you'll be discovered. Finally, when Buka and the others left, the man behind him loosened his shackles on me. I jerked my head back, and by the way, I pulled away. Since this person is not Buka, then who could he be? Yes. You. The person who came was the same school worker last time. He still looked at me with a serious expression. Classmate, how dare you run to such a remote place in the middle of the night? For some reason, perhaps out of gratitude for being saved by this school worker twice in a row, I inexplicably have a sense of trust and security in this person. So I didn't hide it from him, and told him that a familiar elder would come to visit me. The school worker twisted his eyebrows, and his expression became a little complicated and said, the north gate is the most remote place, basically no one will pick up people in this place, and there was a female student in the school before. At that time, a boy and a couple asked the girl to meet at the north gate, and then the girl was killed on the way to come, and the investigation later learned that the boy who called the girl over was the initiator of this incident, and he deliberately invited the girl to such a remote place. I couldn't help but frown and look at him and say, are you suspicious of the people in my family? But my uncle is my mother's boyfriend, my stepfather, so how could he hurt me? The school worker replied, if it's really family, how can you bring people to this place? Classmate, if I hadn't dragged you in here today, you would have been. By Buka and them I sensitively captured the key to his words. Did this person know Buka? But no matter how much I asked, the school worker refused to reveal more, and only blindly told me to be careful not to go to the north gate. In the end, I couldn't resist leaving early, not wanting to listen to his nonsense anymore. This person is really sick. Even if he saves me, he shouldn't talk nonsense to the people around me like this. And my uncle, how can it have anything to do with the bad guys like Buka? Our house is far away from here, and my mother told me that my uncle is also here for the first time on a business trip. I grumbled as I continued on my brisk pace towards the north gate. It wasn't until I saw my uncle's car parked at the school gate that I finally breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, I was even more unhappy with what the school worker said. If my uncle was really a bad person, I guess I wouldn't have walked so peacefully. Uncle Zhang. I happily got into my uncle's car and had a great conversation along the way. Speaking of which, this is the first time I have been alone with my uncle, so I feel that my mother's vision is really good. The uncle is strong and funny. After driving for a long time, the car finally stopped on the side of the road. I was chatting with my uncle all the way, and I didn't see much of the scenery on the roadside. When I stopped, I noticed that the area was very remote, and there were not even streetlights. Uncle, where are you going? My voice grew smaller, but my eyes widened sharply. I actually saw Buka and the others pushing open the door on the first floor of a certain house, and they were smiling evilly towards my uncle's car. My first reaction was, I was being stalked by them again.